Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
As always, the Ramble is sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. If you're a growing business and you want support to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. Thank you for joining the team for their continued support for the Ramble. Today's Ramble is sponsored by Wellstone Landscapes. From lawn to luxury, creating outdoor elegance. Wellstone Landscapes covers most areas of Yorkshire. If you mention the Ramble when asking for a quote, you'll receive 10% off any work. Call Paul or find him on Facebook in the details below. What is happening, Blades? Good morning and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. This is, of course, the warm-up. Now, it's between a really couple of busy game weeks and turnarounds. We could have done a hot off the presser this morning, straight after Wilder's press conference. Truth be told, I've been a little bit under the weather recently, over the last day or two. A little violin. Time to get the violin out. So I've been up most of the night. And then just as Wilder's press conference were about to start, I was looking online for it everywhere and I jumped out of bed and got it sorted. But I couldn't find it on the website. Get better at that, Sheffield United. Look, it's not their fault I missed it, but I'd like it to be a little bit clearer as to where it is and when. So I missed the majority of it. I've watched the replay so I can bring to you the headline points because the replay is now on the website. So if anybody's interested in that, you can catch it on the Sheffield United website. They've put the replay up straight away, which was really helpful for me this morning. But this is the warm-up, which we're going to be a tight turnaround anyway because we had to do 90 after 90 yesterday. Then the warm-up, getting ready for Luton. There's only a day's turnaround now for us. So loads to cram into a little short space of time. I appreciate those of you that are joining us this morning. First, headlines from the presser then, because we didn't do a hot off the presser this morning. Tom Cannon and Gus Hamer, not as serious as first thought. Andy the Blade will be laughing because he thought Tom Cannon had put that boot on as a joke, which is ridiculous. I think, in fact, Wilder touched on it in his press conference that when Danny Hall questioned him about, do you think that, what about the little bits of noise about Tom Cannon not scoring yet and things like that? He thinks it's ridiculous that people are, it's a decent fee. He understands why there'll be eyes on him and he will score goals for us. But it's ridiculous to think, you're going to come in and hit the ground running straight away. We haven't signed him for today. We've signed him just for today, should I say. We've signed him for 5+ years, haven't we? So absolutely right. I think that's the right way to go about it. I'll be surprised if Tom Cannon starts this game. I'll get to my team very shortly in a bit of Born to be Wilder. But he said he was going to give Cannon and Gus, which would be a huge loss for us, but Cannon and Gus every opportunity to get on the bus. I love his little sayings like that. But yeah, that was one of the things we were keen to point out. We talked about Callum O'Hare and his impact that he'd made since coming back. Obviously, we missed him against. It was glaringly obvious, and we talked about this on 90 after 90 last night. It was glaringly obvious that we missed him against Portsmouth, and he played an integral part in an all-round brilliant team performance against Middlesbrough. And then they talked a little bit about Luton as well. Again, this is just the highlights. I'm not going into as much detail as I would do on hot off the presser usually, but we talked about Luton and Danny Hall asked again, does their situation highlight how tricky it can be to come down from the Premier League and readjust, if you like? That was vaguely, apologies, that's not verbatim, but Wilder said, absolutely. Our first, we're very close to what could have been us in that situation. So our first aim this season was to get to 50 points and make sure that we're safe in the division. Our next aim is to get to 74 points, which I thought was really interesting, which will likely guarantee us a playoff spot. And from there, we'll see what happens. So that is the mentality as well. So really interesting from Wilder again. Obviously, there weren't much to discuss in and around other than everybody else is fine apart from Cannon and Gus. It looks like Kiefer's going to be back in contention, likely on the bench, obviously. So that gives us a little bit of leeway with Tom Cannon if he's not 100% fit. We can start with Tyrese Campbell. Kiefer Moore can come off the bench and sort of start making his return back into the first team fold. Things are looking really good for us. And he again reiterated how pleased he was with the January window. He said there's only really Rob Holding that hasn't had the minutes that we've brought in, but he's fit as a fiddle and ready to go. So those were his words. If needed, he can come in. Now, there was some rhetoric around, is Jack Robinson going to be available because he picked up his 5th yellow card? Apparently, it's outside of the window for, he'd gone long enough without collecting 5 yellow cards, and he's not going to be banned for this upcoming game. So it'd be interesting to know. I want to know what your teams are going to be for the Luton game, what you would play if you were Chrissy Wilder. I'm going to give you my teams in Born to be Wilder. But before that, we've got our mates from the OK Football Show, who are predominantly Luton Town fans, let's be right. So Ollie, who's been on the channel before, you'll recognise him if you're a long-time watcher of the channel. He's going to give us a little bit of a rundown now as to what we can expect from an underperforming Luton Town.
Hi Jimmy, thanks for having me on. My name's Ollie and I'm here to answer some questions that Jimmy has put to me about Luton Town. It was very busy, but it had to be. And at the beginning of January, our CEO, Gary Sweet, came out and said, we will be aggressive in the January window. And we were aggressive. We've gone back to signing players who are young, hungry, and to be honest, that is what we needed. Some that might not be ready right away, like Lasse Nordis. He's been signed from Tromsø. He could be the answer up front eventually once he is up to speed, because Carlton Morris and Elijah Adebayo had to be replaced because they just haven't been performing. With Rob Edwards going out and Bloomfield coming in, we had to change the formation. We had no one really to play in those wide areas that Bloomfield requires so much. So we brought in a lot of wide people. Isaiah Jones, Miller Nick Ali. You'll be like, who? Who's Miller Nick Ali? Well, he was a bloke from Exeter. He had a very good season. He's a bit of a beefcake and he could be useful for us. Beefcake! Beefcake! And fellow Asgard. So we brought in young, hungry people that are sort of at the top of their game at the moment. We should have done this in the summer window. We should have completely turned around our squad. But we didn't do that. Gary Sweet talked about how we had thousands of data points. Thousands. Managers all over the country and other countries. You know what? We brought in a bloke from 20 miles up the road. Weird one. Yes, he's done great things at Wycombe. Wycombe are a very similar team to Luton, but when he took over a Wycombe, they weren't in a relegation battle. Luton Town are. I like him. The majority of the fans, they are backing him. They want to see him succeed. Matt Bloomfield has very much brought in the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-1-4-1. We don't get cut open in the middle anymore like we used to, and he actually plays players in their actual position. Like, there's not going to be Ruel Walters playing left back and Raksaki absolutely destroying him this time. I mean, Raksaki might destroy whoever plays left back, but it won't be Ruel Walters, because Ruel Walters is a right back, and no manager in their right mind is going to play a right-footed right back at left back, because that is stupid. So it's going to be a 4-2-3-1, double pivot, sitting in front of the defence, probably Lamine Fanny, Marvellous Nakamba, maybe. I don't know. I hope Marv plays, because we need the player that doesn't charge forward like Lamine Fanny. And then there'll be a 3 behind a central striker. The central striker could be Carlton Morris. It could be Elijah Adebayo. There'll be 3 players with pace. Well, 2 players with pace on the wings. A player that's technically quite gifted in the middle, probably Thello Asgard. And we will try and get round the sides. I'd like to think it's the wide men, the Isaiah Jones, the Miller Nick Ali, the Josh Bowlers, Thello Asgard in behind. But there isn't too much threat in our side, and that is why we are second bottom at the time of recording. It's got to be the fullback position. Hopefully we can move Alfie Doughty left back, so that sort of sorts out one side that is very weak in our squad. The other side, right back, until Reece Burke comes back and potentially could fill in at right back. We have Ruel Walters, who he had a torrid time Bramall Lane last time, and we have Daiki Hashioka, who is a Japanese international right back. He should be good, but he's not that great. I mean, he's definitely not great going forward. He's good defensively, but English football has been quite a step up for him. It certainly leaves us quite unbalanced. Even Alfie Doughty, he's not a natural left back, and Alfie Doughty's going to want to bomb on, and Marvin Campbell will have to fill in the left back position. So I'd say, yeah, around the sides, the full back areas, that is most definitely a weakness for us. We don't get penetrated through the middle too much anymore. That was comical how often we were cut open through the middle. We've looked better as of late, but I think Sheffield United will probably look more like the home team. You're not going to be settling for a point, I don't think. We could have a bit of the ball. We have gone more possession based like that, but we try and get it forward as quickly as possible. I do think there's going to be a lot of attacks from the wings. We're going to be defending relatively deep because it is backs against the wall time now. I'd like to see Luton Town be physical. That is something that's really been lacking from Luton Town sides, and it's something that has been very key to Luton Town's success over the years. I don't see any weaknesses. I'd say one weakness is the fact that Harry Souttar isn't available. He's out for the season, which is why it's not wonderful news for him. It's wonderful news for Luton Town, because I can't think of a time off the top of my head, whether he was at Stoke, whether he was at Leicester, whether he was at Sheffield United. I can't think of a single game where Harry Souttar has played and Luton Town have beaten any of those teams that has Harry Souttar in.
Shut up!
He's a tremendous player. He's a giant. He's athletic. He's a tremendous defender.
Shut up! Skyler. Shut up!
So I'd say that is a weakness. The fact that you haven't got Harry Souttar, because he's like the anti-talisman for Luton Town. Yes, Harry Clark and Rob Holding that you brought in, I don't think they're as good as Harry Souttar. Souttar's tremendous.
Shut up! Shut up!
So I'd say that is probably the only weakness that I can see. Since Harry Souttar has gone injured, Sheffield United have been a bit more leaky. Yes, you got Ahmed Hodzic, he's good, but Harry Souttar was like the glue that was properly holding that defence together, making you so tough to beat, so tough to score against.
Shut up!
Yeah, I think it's a home game. Bloomfield's had a long time to work with the team. So personally, I think it could be a surprising one. 1-1. I was going to say 1-0. I was going to say 1-0 Luton, but I think 1-0 Luton Town will take the lead, and then Sheffield United will score a late equaliser. 1-1. If you want to find us on social media, we are The OK Football Show. You can find us on YouTube. We do championship content as well as Luton Town content, and we've been talking about Sheffield United a lot. I recently did a video talking about the automatic promotion chase, and where I think Sheffield United will finish in that automatic promotion chase. I think Luton Town, to be honest, I'd take anything above the dotted line right now. I'd like to be optimistic about that. Luton Town need to pull themselves together, so I'll say 20th. 20th. Oh, God, can you believe it? We finished above Sheffield United last year, and we're an absolute dumpster fire. Right, anyway, Jimmy, thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it, mate. All the best after the game on Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Top man, thank you, Ollie. Appreciate that, buddy. That was recorded prior to the Middlesbrough game, had you not picked up on that. And obviously, since then, Luton have dropped to bottom of the league. And we have been much more convincing in our last outing than we were against Portsmouth. So I wonder if Ollie feels slightly differently now. We shall see. Will be interesting to find out. I'm going to jump into some comments now. Thank you to everybody that's joined me. I appreciate it's an awkward time for a lot of people. But again, it's the tight, packed schedule, isn't it, that's making things a little bit quick for us all to turn around. So you can jump on this anytime, obviously. Positive Jack says, evening, Jimmy. How's your morning going? About as well as yours, by looks of it, pal. I understand people have got an eye on Leeds, but I wouldn't change the team apart from Cannon and Robbo. Since we have no choice, my reasoning behind this is it's just started to click and we've had the performance of the season. So to build momentum, I keep it the same and sub off when necessary to give others minutes. Right, well, you'll get to see my team in a minute, so we won't leave it much longer before I put that on as well. Will says nerves kicking in for tomorrow. Need a good game to keep excited for the Leeds game. Yeah, we do. I'm not overly nervous, but I will be close to the time. I know I will. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, up the full-time Ramble, up behind the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Very confident for tomorrow, says Dave. There you go. That's a completely polar opposite opinion. And why wouldn't you be after that performance on Wednesday night? But if there's any doubts with Gus, I would rest him. He's too important to risk. I know, understood. And when you see my team, again, that was recorded prior to this morning's press conference. So it's actually already been released as its own entity on the channel. So if you want to go and have a look at that, you can just see my team. And some of you may have already seen it, but I'm going to play it in a second as well. Ray says, morning, Jimmy. Let's hope we carry on the excellent performance from the other night. No reason why we won't. So come on, you Blades, up the Ramble. Up the full-time Ramble, like and subscribe. Just United. Good morning, Rick. And Marcus, star of the channel. Let's be right. Good job I'm not at work, Jimmy. I think we need to play full strength and continue the momentum. We can't let off this game. We need all the confidence we can and carry it into Leeds. Yeah, I think with there being 9 games, if we were playing Leeds in 3 games' time or 4 days' time, then I would strongly consider a rotated team. But there's 9 days now between us playing Leeds at home. So I think we can. I think we can go full pelt. I'm with the opinion that if there's any doubts, same as Dave, if there's any doubts over Gus, he's probably the one that you're wrapping cotton wool, because there are alternatives that you can use that won't be as effective. I think he's our best player, but he's the only one that I wouldn't take a risk on, really. Morning, Jimmy, fellow Blades, up the Ramble, up behind the Ramble, up Ramble on the road. Absolutely. We've got Jamie Dumpling, who is yet to send me a thumbnail picture. I'll remind you again, pal. For Ramble on the road, he's taking us to Luton with him. So thank you to Jamie. I'm looking forward to what he can put together. It'll be absolutely great, like the previous 3 were. Thank you to everybody's comments on those videos, by the way, as well. I don't often ask people to comment and tell us how good they are, but obviously these are predominantly Rambles that don't feature me. They are led by other. I put them together in the edit to sort of make them as polished as it can get on the Ramble, as a polished finish. But Jordan's was led by Jord, Lee's was led by Lee, Kieran's was led by Kieran, and it's to be fair, George's been on the Ramble a fair bit recently. Lee's been on previously as well. Both really insightful and have got a little bit more comfortable as time's gone on screen. That was Kieran's debut on the Ramble, making any content at all. I think he did an absolutely cracking job, and I really appreciate the positive feedback that you give in the comment section to let those lads know that they've done a good job, because it's nice to help build their confidence. That's why we want to include more Ramblers on a lot of our content. It's a community, isn't it? It's a team game. And, you know, you can't nobody wants to see this face every day, do they? So I really appreciate what they're doing for us. And they want to get involved, and I'm more than happy for them to be involved. So I'm looking forward to what Jamie can do. And thank you, particularly for your positive comments on Kieran, but for all the lads that have been involved, it's been appreciated. I think it's been a real positive addition to the channel. And I love it. I love it. I'm really fond of that series. Ray says, yes, I'd rest Gus, but if he's fit, Chris will play him. He's on fire, so he'll play. I agree. If he's fit, if he's past as match fit, he will likely play, won't he? But I think if there's any doubt over him, Ray, I wouldn't. Because can you imagine him being out for Leeds game? We need him firing for that game, don't we? Rob says, morning, Jimmy. I'd rest Gus, save him for Leeds game. There's no disrespect to Luton, but we can beat them without him. Give Peck and Sousa 45 minutes and only bring on Hamza and Tom Davis at half-time. All right, okay, so you're really sort of conserving the energy, aren't you? I think that's maybe taking Luton a touch lightly, Rob, to be honest. If it were at home, I'd be a little bit more confident. But I think going to Kenilworth Road, really tight ground, obviously walking through people's living rooms to get to the game and stuff like that. I don't think we can make too many changes. As I say, I'll play you my team in a minute and see what you think. Good morning, Jimmy Ladd, says Pixie. If we play like the match 5-0 to the match, I assume you mean against Borough, 5-0 to the Blades. If not, anything could happen. Exactly right. And if you make too many changes, you could get another disjointed performance, couldn't you? Brand says, morning, Jimmy. Hope to keep with a winning side together for this weekend's game. Thankfully, no midweek game before the Leeds game. Going for a 0-2 United for this one, pal. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Yeah, that's what I've gone for as well, pal. Pixie says, smash the like button, please, Blades. Thank you very much. We are very close as well to that milestone of 1,000 subscribers over on Behind the Ramble. Last check, we were something like 943. So if you're not already, go over and subscribe on that. Once that's reaches monetization, essentially, because we're always transparent on the Ramble. Once that reaches monetization, we will focus on putting more content out over there. And one of the first things I want to talk about is, because it's not just going to be Sheffield United based. That is the Blades Ramble. That is our bread and butter. That is what I absolutely love to do. But I appreciate other people have asked about different aspects of the channel and how I've sort of coordinated things. We've got people starting their own YouTube channels like Ricky and Dry Bry. So over there is where I'm going to discuss. I'll still talk about Sheffield United because I can't not, but other things as well. So we'll start putting more content out there when we reach that monetization marker of 1,000 subscribers. So thank you to everybody that's supported us so far over there. Appreciate it. Zane says, safe to say Luton have been playing like, I can't believe, right? Like softies, I think we'll say. I can't believe I edited that. I edited that like 2-3 days ago. And I've forgotten I'd put the Thierry Henry laughing in the really immature bit. But that just shows I'm 40, but I'm still 10 years old in some aspects as well. Great Band says, tuning in from Jaipur. Brilliant. Nice one. On my travels in India. Looked back to it against Middlesbrough. We need to get to full speed for the Leeds game. They've a fickle confidence team. One loss could derail hot form. It's going to... Yeah, I agree. If you punch Leeds in nose and you nick 3 points off them, because they are playing really well at the minute, who knows how they're going to react? That is probably the most balanced way of saying it, because we've seen it before, haven't we? We've seen them unravel before. So we will see. We will see. Zani says, must win, but I hate going to Luton. Everything about it is useless. No swearings on it. The ground, City, the tiny, narrow pitch. Yeah, that's by design, I think, though, isn't it, right? I think that they do it for that leveler. They've always loved the underdog tag, and obviously in recent years they've been strong in the Championship. Obviously got promoted with us, came back down, so they're still seen as a big fish in the division. But that has historically been their hallmark of, look, we're not necessarily good at it. Worked in the Premier League to a degree. This is our leveler, and that's what it is. Shut up, stop mentioning Suter. Brilliant editing duty, thank you. But honestly, when you were talking about him all the time, I was like, we know how brilliant he is. And it's really astute of Ollie, who does study football, and his channel covers Championship content, so he knows his stuff. Certainly since he's been moved to a broader content library, if you like. But it's really astute, I think, to notice that we have been leaky since Suter left, because we all know that, but I don't always think a lot of opposition fans pick up on it. Chef Steele says, such an interesting game. We finally clicked against Borough, but was it a false dawn, or are we now the real deal? That is the question, Chef Steele. That is the question. Happy Chappy says, might be worth dropping Cannon to the bench for this one, bring Campbell in for this one. Well, he had a protective boot on, didn't he, Happy Chappy? So did Cannon. I don't know if you missed that, but yeah, that's the chances are he will sit out just as a precaution anyway. It's Hamer, isn't it, that's going to be the big question mark, even though Wilder said he's going to give both of them every chance to make the squad. Paul, good morning, mate. Morning, Blades. Day off today, so great to be tuning in live. Burton Diaz to come in for Hamer, and hope we carry on from the other night. 3-1 Blades, up the Ramble. Ian says, I know it's early days, but Cannon has had so little impact. I forget he's playing. I think he's harsh. I think that's harsh. Go as strong as we can against Luton tomorrow. With 9 days rest after this game, there's no reason not to for me. And I think that's an ideal time for me to tell you exactly what I would do this weekend. Not that people care, but it's just nice to compare to what you would do as well. So have a look at this. This is Born to be Wilder. And let me know if you agree or disagree with my team.
Born to be wild.
So this is Born to be Wilder, and this is my team to play Luton Town on Saturday after the brilliant performance against Middlesbrough. And it was completely a one-sided game. I thought we were very, very good. We talked about it on 90 after 90. Really, really strong. So in goal, it's going to not surprise anybody. The best goalkeeper in the Championship. It's Michael Cooper between the sticks. What a man. What a man. And what else is there to say about this man other than he's the best in the league? I would not swap him for anybody. And it's all subjective. Burnley fans will say it's James Trafford, but I take Michael Cooper over anybody in this league. Absolutely superb goalkeeper. And arguably, he's certainly my signing of the season. At right back, I'm sticking with Harry Clarke. He had a strong debut, I thought, and then he had a bit of a dodgy game against Portsmouth, let's be right, but so did a lot of the team. Chris Wilder kept faith with him against Middlesbrough, and Harry Clarke stays in the lineup after a decent performance against Borough. I thought he got up and down really well. I thought it looked fairly solid as well. Good performance from Harry Clarke, and it was good to see him going from strength to strength. Feel for Alfie Gilchrist, but that's the position we've put ourselves in, isn't it, at the moment? Next to him, is he back? Is he back? We have missed this Anel. How good was this man against Borough? Charging forward again. The whole feel was completely different. Absolutely unreal from this man. An absolute tower at the back. Anel Ahmedhodzic is in my side. And in what may seem like a surprising call, I'm sticking with Jack Robinson. I still think against Borough there were holes in his game. But again, I'm conscious that I'm looking for holes. So it's not always fair. Jack Robinson stays in my team. I thought it was very, very unfortunate to concede the penalty. It was daft. It was unnecessary. But it was 6 to 1, half a dozen of the other. It's never a penalty in a million years. Never a penalty. But why give the referee a decision would be my only grumble at that. But Jack Robinson stays in the side. And next to him is Harrison Burrows, who I thought was one of the quieter players against Borough. But we know what this lad can offer us. I still think he's the best left back in the league, and you'll have to convince me otherwise. Another superb signing in the summer. Harrison Burrows completes our defensive line. In front of them, it'll come as no surprise, and it's harsh on Hamza because I've wanted Hamza Chowdhury for a long time, but Vinny Souza starts in central midfield again. I thought he played very well. Grew into the game. There were certain instances where Ryan Giles broke free, and Vinny Souza, the gazelle-like Vinny Souza, ran alongside him and just nicked the ball from him. Didn't even have to shoulder him out of the way or anything, just took the ball off him. It's a man playing with confidence. And when you've got the ability that he has, that's a dangerous thing at this level. Next to him is my man of the match against Borough, Sidi Peck. Absolutely outstanding. That pass for Brereton Diaz's goal is one of the best passes I have ever seen. And that's a huge statement because we see an awful lot every game. But what a beautiful pass. And that was just the icing on the cake from a brilliant all-action performance. And I know I said it last time. He gets it. He gets it. He has bought into everything about this football club. And I hope he is here for a long, long time to come. If Jack Robinson does come out of the side for whatever reason, who's against giving this lad the armband? Because I think he's everything that we're about. In front of them, I'm going with Gus Hamer on the left-hand side. The first 20 minutes of this game against Borough is the best I think I may have ever seen Gus Hamer. That's how good he was. Everything he was doing was coming off. He looked a threat all the time. I know he can go in fits and starts sometimes, but he was absolutely unplayable. He pulled about 4 players onto him at one stage because they just could not deal with him at all. He started to fade as his hamstring gave him some issues, which I hope is not a problem. If it is, then obviously you'd put BBD in on this side, but Gus Hamer is key to how we work, and he's coming in on the left-hand side. And talking about key to how we work, Callum O'Hare, another brilliant performance from him. Was he better for the rest? Did he have a point to prove to Chris Wilder? Whatever it was, it worked. Is that his best performance in a Sheffield United shirt? In and amongst some already very good performances. How he did not get a penalty as well when he was chopped down. Unbelievable. He was chopped down twice in the box, actually. We were just fortunate that Raksaki put the first one in. But Callum O'Hare stays in the team, absolutely well-deserved. And speaking of that man, Raksaki, he is over on the right-hand side for me. He were another one that started very brightly, I thought, against Middlesbrough. Faded slightly as the game went on, but obviously got the first goal, got us rolling. and he looked like he had a little bit of a spark back, which we've been waiting for, haven't we? We've been waiting for. I think we've seen it once against Luton, where he controlled the game before he came off, and he did really well first half for us against Borough. But the difference is the quality we can bring off the bench. So when Raksaki does tire and you bring on Ben Brereton Diaz and you switch him and Hamer over, the options now have levelled us up significantly. I thought Tom Cannon did well. Unfortunately, Wilder confirmed that he's rolled his ankle, and we're going to be assessing that. Because of that, Tyrese Campbell comes into my side, who I thought, again, when he came on, hassled and harried and chased down and pressed. Obviously missed a key chance one-on-one with a keeper, but they will come. He's getting in the right positions. He's causing defences a problem, looked very sharp, and he's a great player. He's been a great signing for us. Under the radar, a real key signing for us, and long may it continue that he continues this vein of form. So this is my team, and I think it's a really strong one. Got Michael Cooper in goal, Harry Clark at right back, Anel Ahmedhodzic, and I'm sticking with Jack Robinson next to him. Harrison Burrows at left back. Vinny Souza and Siddy Peck. Siddy Peck. The man who's taken his chance with both hands. I've got Gus Hamer on the left, Raksaki on the right, Callum O'Hare in the 10, and we're going Tyrese Campbell up top. I'm not saying we're going to absolutely walk into Kenilworth Road and turn Luton over, but they've just lost to Sunderland away from home. They're not in great form themselves. They've struggled all season. I know they've changed the manager, but they're transitioning out there. They're at a decent time to play them, if any. Always going to be a tough fixture going down to Luton, but we've got the chance to go top of the league here. So every reason to go down and go for the 3 points with everything we've got. We need to start on the front foot like we did against Borough, and attack, control possession, and play in their half. Absolutely fantastic. And I fancy us to win this one 2-0. So let me know what you think of that team. I think it almost starts to pick itself a little bit at this stage. Again, I feel for Alfie Gilchrist. I could certainly entertain a conversation about Rob Holding, but I just don't think Robinson's done enough to come out of the team unless you're holding him responsible for that unnecessary tussle in the box for the penalty. Obviously, Brereton Diaz made a case for a start, and that might happen. Does he come in for Raksaki? Interesting discussion points, but let me know your thoughts down below. And that was Born to be Wilder.
Born to be wild.
Tell. To be wilder. So let me know what you think to that team. Obviously, there's been a slight update since I recorded that, with the fact that it's unlikely that Gus will start. I would probably say it's unlikely he starts. Maybe Brereton Diaz comes in, which again shows the strength in depth. So Brereton Diaz on the left, please, would be really nice. Raksaki on the right, Callum O'Hare in the 10. So we're losing Tom Cannon and Gus Hamer. We're bringing in Tyrese Campbell and Brereton Diaz. Absolutely unreal depth now. Unreal. And that's enough. That's good enough to beat Luton. I'm not saying we will. I've got to make sure everything's lined up appropriately. But that team is strong enough to go to a bottom of the league Luton and get all 3 points. So it's down to the players to perform as well. I think it's key that when we see the team sheet at 2:00 tomorrow, we all make an honest assessment and remember what we're thinking about this team sheet. Because if we think it's a great lineup, it's good enough, then we can't then at 5:00, if it hasn't gone our way, we can't then say, why did Wilder pick that team? So that's just the way you've got to honestly look at it. Silly idea, says Scott. If Hamer isn't 100%, do we save him for Leeds? It's not a silly idea, pal. It's not a silly idea at all. BBD is an ideal replacement for me. I think that'll probably happen now, Scott. Ricky says, Ricky of Just United says, I think you should do a ramble on the road for Leeds game. Let's have a look. When weather's warmed up a bit, I'll make my debut in Triple Point, pal. Good to hear, Ricky. A long time Platinum Rambler has yet to make his debut at Triple Point. So it'll be good to meet you properly, mate. I know we talk an awful lot now, but we've not actually met in person, have we? So that'd be really good, pal. Matt says, I play full strength. We'll be full of confidence after Borough. 3-0 Blades win. That is confidence, Matt. And why wouldn't you be confident going into the game? Rob says, if Campbell is through on goal tomorrow and he has someone next to him, can he pass it this time? Yes, please. Yes, please, Rob. Suits the long ball tactics, says Zonny. David says, morning, Jimmy. Hope you are well. Up all the rambles, like and subscribe. I'm okay, thank you, pal. Hope you are too. On the bringing on Hamza on Davison, I'm just scared of Sousa and Peck getting injured, as they'll be pivotal for the Leeds game. Love both of them. They've both been playing really well, haven't they? I mean, Portsmouth aside, Vinny's played really well. I think Sidney Peck is probably the first midfielder on the team sheet at the minute, and that's a big statement, isn't it? Considering the talent that we've now got available. Zani says people are missing the fact the service Cannon has had has been shocking. Not been playing to his strength. He's made 3 or 4 good runs the other day. Our player never put him in behind the long ball. It's not his game. I agree with that. I think, look, I know he's not had the output that people want, but if you look at his performances, he's been decent. He has been decent. I'm not saying he's blown me away, but I'm certainly not disappointed with any of his performances. Ray says, if no Cannon tomorrow, neither will Kiefer be included. I asked him the other night if he was back Saturday. No was the answer, but hopefully Leeds. All right. So, well, Wilder's been saying in pressers that Tom Davies back for Borough, and he was on the bench and obviously came off the bench. He said that Kiefer will be back for Luton at the weekend, and he said Sariki will be back for Leeds. That's been the thing he's stuck with. Obviously, that's all subject to change if he has a slight setback. That's interesting though, Ray. That's interesting that he said he won't be involved. So maybe Brewster is the one that comes in behind Campbell. So it'll be Campbell with Brewster on the bench, he says. Yeah, okay. Nice one, pal. Thank you for the info. Appreciate that. Maury says, isn't Jack Robinson suspended? I'm sure he's on 5 yellow cards, according to Sky. He's on 5, but I'm pretty sure that it's outside of the window, so he's not suspended. Will says, am I watching the right channel? Robbo stays in. Who are you? And what are you doing with Jimmy? I've got to have a word with myself, Anna. I've got to have a word with myself, and I have to try and hold my hands up when I think, look, I get this from Andy the Blade. I'm ridiculously stubborn when it comes to when I'm setting my ways with an opinion about something. And I'm conscious that it's a character flaw of mine. So I can't change the fact that I think if you line all 3 of our centre halves up, and we've only got 3 really, haven't we? Anel, Rob Holding and Jack Robinson. Jack Robinson is the weakest of the 3, in my opinion. But has he done enough to stay in the team? Or conversely, has he done anything wrong, particularly, that you could say that was glaring and he needs to come out of the side? And if the answer's no, then I can't see how you can pull him out of the team. So, look, if Rob Holding comes in and starts at the weekend, I'll be happy. I'm not going to lie to you. But I also can't justify saying get Robbo out of the team because, yes, he was penalised very, very harshly for the penalty. But you can't hold that against him, can you? I certainly don't. Chef Steele says the Harry Souter editing was brilliant because it's so accurate. He's a massive miss. The defence just isn't the same without him. I agree. Positive Jack says I think people need to give Tom Cannon a break. Remember, guys, he's only just come in. He needs time. It's definitely the price tag that's affecting people's opinion. Yeah, possibly so. Colin says I think that's the first game in quite a while where we've had a balanced side and the result speaks for itself. I can see us going up a few levels now. It's an exciting bench as well. I agree. Balance is the key, isn't it, Cole? Because that's exactly how it felt. It felt like we weren't trying to shoehorn people in. I know that Gus Hamer isn't a left-sided player per se, but Wilder's sort of described it really well as like a wide 10. Rather than a left winger, he's not. He's like a wide 10 that comes in. And it did look balanced. Not just that, but the 2 central midfielders complemented each other rather than being too similar. So I have to reflect on being wrong with that because I wanted Hamza and Sousa together. Thought it worked the first game against Derby. It didn't work at all against Portsmouth. It may work in other scenarios. If we've got a 10 in the situation, which we didn't have against Portsmouth, then maybe it's a little bit smoother. But Sidney Peck has been brilliant. And Maurice says here, Sidney Peck is a brilliant player. Hopefully we can put a run of good performances together now. Yeah, I'll take the results over the performances, Cole, as I know the majority of Blades would. But if the performances match, or if the performances stay at that level, then we're well on track, aren't we, to achieve our goals, I think Wilder keeps saying. He doesn't actually say go up automatically. He says, achieve our goals this season. Chris says, O'Hare must play such a threat against Middlesbrough. When Gus or O'Hare don't play together, they miss each other badly. Yeah, agreed. I think this will be a Campbell game, running behind them big Luton defenders. I don't rate Mark McGuinness. I know he's an ex-Wendy, but it's not because of that. I think they paid 10 million, well, up to 10 million quid, I was being told by Ollie the other day, for Mark McGuinness, and I just think it's a stumble by them. If the long ball isn't Cannon's game, should we be changing it up then? I think he's not going to play, is he, against Luton? It's very unlikely that he plays. So more of the same from Wednesday night for me. Since Sunderland, Robbo's not made a mistake, says Zonny. There you go. Maury the Cop Blade says, my lineup is Cooper, Clark, Robinson, Anel and Burrows, Peck Souza, Raksaki O'Hare, BBD and Campbell. Play this team. We can win 3-0 up the Blades, up the full-time Ramble. Like and subscribe. It's free. Let's help this channel grow. Thank you, mate. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Yes, it is free to subscribe. It is. People saying Burrows had a bad game against Borough. Am I missing something? No, I didn't think anybody had a bad game against Borough, to be honest. I thought they all played well. I thought Burrows was one of the quieter players in our side. Don't mean he had a bad game. You know when they say people are the best of a bad bunch, and what they mean is he was the best of the lot of them, but they were all useless. You could probably flip it and say Burrows was one of the lesser ones in a brilliant bunch. So, yeah, it wasn't a bad performance by any means by Harrison Burrows. Rich says, feeling confident for tomorrow if we go with the same team and get at them as I watched the Sunderland v Luton highlights and their defenders made several mistakes when pressed up the Blades, up the Ramble. Fingers crossed, pal. Fingers crossed. Zonny says, for me, nobody had a bad game against Borough. Everyone to a man were fantastic. Only the ref had a shocker. Yeah, Wilder said that as well in his presser, actually. Something I forgot to mention. Thought he got loads wrong. He openly said, I thought he made loads of mistakes. Talked about the penalty decision again. Brand says, I don't think you need to have a word with yourself, Jimmy. Anyone with any marbles knows that Robinson isn't really good enough. He doesn't get in any back line in the current top 6 end up. No, he doesn't. He doesn't, Brand. And to be honest, I will always stay level-headed like that. But it's right that people in the chat, because I'm just one opinion out of thousands on Sheffield United. So sometimes people do have to have a word with me politely and say, come on, why now are you pulling him up? And I can justify it if I'm feeling that way, but sometimes I have to reflect and say, well, maybe I am being a bit harsh. And I think I stick to my guns, Bran, in the fact that I think he's the third out of the 3. But again, why would you pull him out of the team when things are going so well? I think you just keep that momentum going, don't you, for now? And if something changes and he gives you a reason to pull him out of the team, then that's fair enough. I personally like that Robbo and Anel know that they have to keep performing. Even if we never see Holding start for us this season, that means they've played to keep their shirt. I agree. That's what it's all about, strengthening into it. It's not necessarily what the new signings can do on the pitch. It's the pressure that they put. Look at Sidney Peck. Sidney Peck knows that if he falters at all, Hamza Chowdhury's breathing down his neck, a Premier League player on a lot of money, and City's keeping him out of the team. So that is a make or break scenario for City. He can either crumble under that pressure or he can rise to it. And he went man at match, weren't he? It's absolutely right. Suspensions are 1 game for 5 yellows up to the 19th game, 2 games for 10 yellows up to the 37th game, 3 games for 15 at any time. Thank you, Lee. There you go. So Robbo's eligible to play. Positive Jack says, got to shoot back to work before my manager sees me on my phone. Have a great day. The ref still needs studying and his eyes testing. I agree, mate. And Zonny, with our final comment, says, Anel got sent off against Cov for grabbing the neck. Edmondson throws 3 punches and gets a yellow. I know. We could go on about that referee performance all day. I think, to be honest, we have to put it to bed now, don't we? We're absolutely shocking performance from the referee. And thankfully, it didn't cost us the game because it could have done. It could have done, couldn't it? Leaky Lloyd just comes in with a comment last minute saying, I don't think Robbo is anywhere near as bad as people think. He's the defensive equivalent of David James, not remembered for his heart and effort, remembered for his howlers. I slightly disagree with that, to be honest. I think he's improved, but I don't think he's I think he gets justifiable stick, to be honest. Agree results are the most important things this call. I want to beat Leeds. That's going to need a good performance. And I've holding in against Luton because I worry about Robbo against Leeds. There you go. That's Cole, who's also got a concern. Brand says there's a reason it was Suter and Nell together. I agree on keeping the side together for momentum. Would be harsh to pull him out of the team. And it was a harsh penalty. I'll, of course, still back. Of course you will. We all will, mate. And look, if I'm ever, you know, I don't think I ever come on and I'm really down on any United players. I try not to be because that's not conducive to anything, is it? But even if I'm critical, like my dad was critical of McBurney quite openly, that's probably the best example I can give. If McBurney scored for United, he'd be just as delighted as McBurney's biggest fan. It's not that he didn't want him to do well. It was just he was getting frustrated with the fact that he wasn't doing what he was hoping for at the time. Maury says, I think Robinson had a few good games as of late. Rob Holding may be worse than him. Who knows? I'd personally leave Jack Robinson in. Yeah, okay. Jack says, we must win. A draw is no use. We have to attack Luton. I agree with that. I agree with that. So thank you, everybody, for joining me this morning. I know, again, it's a bit of an awkward time. We are testing different times with content at the moment just to see how things go. The next time you see me, obviously we'll be back on the main channel for 90 after 90, straight after the Luton game. So with away games, I can come on straight after. I'll be on 15 minutes after the final whistle. So as soon as the final whistle goes, I'm bolting from Andy the Blade's house back here and we're online 15 minutes later. So I'll see you 15 minutes after the final whistle. But before that, because it's on TV and it's the early kickoff, we're going to do a watch-along of Preston versus Burnley on Behind the Ramble. So if you want to join us for a watch-along before our Luton game, then I will see you over on Behind the Ramble at 12 o'clock. Myself and Jordan Motson, I believe. I need to double-check with him, but I will certainly be there. Stumbling my way through commentary if Jord can't make it, but if not, we'll have a laugh with me talking nonsense while Jord professionally talks us through the game. So for now, come on, you red and white wizards! Up the Blade!